What's up, guys? How we doing?
What was that like going through that game without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? Not having those guys, but yet your offense, 65% third down.
Yeah.
Once the yards, but
Yeah, obviously, it's really hard to replace those guys with the production. I thought, everybody had to step up in ways from a protection standpoint, from the backs, from the tight ends. Everybody had to step up. Was it perfect? Was it clean? As clean as we'd like? Absolutely not. We too many self-inflicted wounds. Was proud of their effort. Absolutely proud of their effort. We just didn't play very smart. We didn't coach very smart in some moments. And, we have to learn. We have to learn from those moments. But if you're saying we're going to take a positive, okay, those guys that had to step up and make plays, okay, we're taking the next step, all right? How do we take the next step now from, okay, we're out there. Well, how do we now go out there and be detailed, on the screws, no miscommunication, so we take advantage of busted coverages on third downs. We're on the same page, so we don't have those penalties and issues occur. That's the next step we got to take.
For a starting quarterback to lose not only his top two receiving weapons and 50% of the passing game, but two of the franchise all-time leaders in passing, that's very difficult. That's a daunting task.
Sure.
How would you say that Baker handled that entire challenge,
Yeah.
and really kind of had a different looking offense?
Yeah, I think for the most part, really well. I mean, if you look at him, throwing an out cut to Cade as a single receiver, on a third down, we hadn't done that much this year. That wasn't something we really, dialed up. We had those routes back there in the past, but it wasn't really a thought process. And he goes and takes it, and I think that Bake does have the ability to trust people in spots, which we know he does. You look at him, I didn't want to throw the ball that much in that game, obviously, and it got into one of those kind of games towards the end. I put us in some bad positions that forced us out of some runs, which I'm, frustrated with. But I thought if you look at him, okay, 47 and 50, there's two throws there we'd love to have back that are the interceptions, and a couple other plays that we'd like to have back, and you're sitting there and you're like, man, you're almost 40 or 50, and that's not easy to do. So I thought he played really well for the most part. He kept us in it. We just got to minimize those, those turnovers.
When he doesn't have Mike and Chris out there, is this the opportunity for him to really show his mettle and show people how far he's come as a quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he takes that upon himself in a way to, I still don't even think he pressed in those moments. It was just I put him in a poor position on one, and the other needs, maybe to go to the back pylon on the throw, and, you got a shot. So is there going to be mistakes when you have 50 throws? Probably, because, we didn't want that many. But it's the times at which they're coming are just poor times, and that is very much on me to be able to not put him in those positions to help, hey, let's just hand it off for him one more time here. And then maybe, okay, if we get to third down and we got to have it and we got to throw it, then we have to make a play.
Did you do it as a staff thinking we're going to need something extra?
Yeah, a little bit, but that was just, that wasn't really part of the conversation, but like we did feel like you need to do something. Hindsight, we probably didn't, and that's bad. That's poor coaching on my part. And you think you need something, you like it, you love the call because you're running it. They kind of know you're running it. It's just right thought process, wrong time in a lot of ways. And I have to learn from that moment just as these guys have to learn from their mistakes. So there was part of that, but if you looked at the way, I told the guys, I feel like I took it away from them, their ability to just go run it one more time. And that's what I felt, pretty crummy about.
When you're crafting a game plan, Liam, or calling plays on game day, do you ever factor in, like, how's the other side of the ball playing? How's my defense playing? And does that have an effect on what?
Of course. And that's where you look at that one particular call and you're like, man, now it played out like a punt. It ended up pinning them kind of deep in a way, but it took away a possession. And those possessions in a game like that are just so, like, you have to be on the screws. You got to end every single possession with a kick. A little bit, it factors into it because, like what we talked about as a staff and with Baker, while I'm calling plays or he's throwing the football or you're a ball carrier, you're a catcher, you have the organization in your hands. The organization's in your hands in terms of, like, we got to protect everybody. We got to make sure we don't put our defense or our special teams unit in a poor position with either a play call or a decision or an execution, whatever it is. We've got to just have a little bit more of a mindset as a unit that, man, this ball is pretty special and we cannot be reckless with it, myself included.
Good part of your philosophy is players over plays, and that's easy to do when you got Mike and Chris out there, and not to take away from any of the other guys in the room. But how does your philosophy, how does your game plan, how does that shift when you lose guys like Mike and Chris?
You just look for your continuous next best players and continue to try to get them more touches and more opportunities. And I feel like for the most part we did that. I think we could have done a better job with some other guys and getting them involved and getting them some more touches that have been productive for us in weeks past. But I think at the end of the day, we've got to continue to put our guys in the best position to be successful, and they've got to go play. Like, they have to go play and go let it rip. There's going to be mistakes, but we have to minimize how critical those mistakes are. Are we going to drop a pass? Are we going to miss a block? That stuff's going to happen, but we cannot make them critical mistakes.
Liam, is one of those players Sean Tucker that you want to get more involved?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, just getting guys, touches that have made plays for you, and that's just the game kind of got a little funky in ways, and we had to throw it, and I was ticked at myself for some of those decisions that forced us out of maybe being able to get somebody else, get some more runs, get some more runs off. Whether that's Sean, Bucky, or Rashad in that moment, it's more just let our line set their pads, block them one more time, continue to eat clock, and see what happens. You look at our first touchdown drive, we get down there, 2nd and 5, call a kind of crummy call versus 0. He throws it away. Now we're at 3rd and 5, and we throw the touchdown to Cade. It's like, we got to make, from a coaching staff and a player standpoint, let's snap it one more time. Let's just snap it one more time. Be careful with this ball, but, hey, we got to continue to stay aggressive as well.
Can you speak to Cade Otton? In the last couple of weeks, he's really produced.
Yeah.
Something else about him that I didn't know. He seems physically really resilient. He's taking some shots out there.
Yeah.
He's bounced through them.
Yeah, when you look at him, you see just this model of a kid, all-American boy, the best, one of the best guys I've been around, and but he's tough. He's a tough football player. He's risen to the challenge. He's made the plays when they've been able to present themselves. He's had a little bit of yak and run after catch, and there's a trust factor there. There's chemistry there, and I've been really proud of him.
You've been, you're number 1 in 3rd down percentage, and I know you're proud of that because it's a key stat in maintaining possession. How much of that, when you do your self-scouting and everything, is that you've stayed in manageable 3rd down situations?
That's accurate. I mean, if you look at this group that we're going up against this week, there's been 7 3rd and 2 to 3s on the year. 7. 20 3rd and 7 to 9, 25 3rd and 10 plus. So that is a huge factor in what we're trying to obviously get accomplished, and trying to be more efficient on your 1st and 2nd downs, not living in those negative yard runs, which we were living in a little bit more early in the year, which were putting us behind the chains and creating harder 3rd down and distance to go. This week more than ever, it's going to have to be a huge factor of trying to stay ahead of the chains and stay in manageable 3rd down situations because they've been pretty salty so far.
What's the sweet spot in 3rd and 1?
I mean, I'd love to be able to stay under 7, 8 in that world if you can. You don't want to be in too many 10 pluses. But as much as you can stay in that 3rd and 1 to about 7 to 8, you feel a little bit better about your percentages of being able to throw and catch, giving him a couple different options to throw to, and then obviously being able to use his legs when he needs to.
We talked to Baker Mayfield yesterday, and he talked a little bit about Steve Spagnuolo's defense and how a lot of those players can do a lot of different things in sort of hybrid roles. As a coordinator facing a very good defense, when you look at their film without taking anything away, what are some of the things that you see, and what makes this Chiefs defense so challenging for so many great
A ton of respect, obviously, for them and what they've done, been able to accomplish. Coach Spags being a Northeast guy, I went to Springfield College, I went to UMass, so that's not so far away. They got a lot of guys, veterans, and have been in the system for a long time, you can tell it's organized chaos at times in terms of like they know exactly what's going on, but it looks a little bit chaotic to the offense in some ways. They've done a phenomenal job pattern matching and reading. They don't give you a single snap of free access. There's not one snap. They reroute. They just do a great job getting hands on people. And oh, by the way, they're one of the best pass rushers and defensive football players in the NFL. So it's definitely a challenge for us. Ton of respect for them. But that's, ultimately why we do this, is to go try to rise to that occasion.
With Bucky's toe injury, Todd said it's going to be, for the foreseeable future, missed practice the first 2 days, probably be limited on that third day, probably in walkthroughs. But does that make it difficult? How does that kind of change your approach as far as installing a game plan throughout the week? It's
challenging, for sure, because now, do I trust him? He's in here at 5 o'clock every day doing what he needs to get done, but still a rookie that needs reps, that needs, the muscle memory, the way we do things, your track, your read, your everything goes into that. So that's definitely been a little bit of a challenge, not being able to have him. And it's not necessarily just for some of the 21 stuff. It's more, just the regular offense. He's not getting those reps. And so definitely a challenge. He's been trying to take the necessary steps to make sure he's ahead of the game plan, but I wouldn't say that it's easy.
How much does the walkthrough fill in the gaps there where he's not asked to run? And really
That's what we did, last week before our Saturday practice in there. We had another walkthrough prior to that as a unit, and it was really, a Bucky walkthrough. So we're going to continue to have to do that and catch them up to speed.
Did your receivers hit their landmarks? In other words, there was a couple plays where it looked like guy's open, Baker put it on the guy, he's so open, maybe he should pull up there.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of miscommunication on some of the big plays.
Yeah, on a third down, they busted the coverage. J-Max got an in-breaking route there, and he got bumped initially by the nickel, and then the nickel came off and covered Cade. J-Max just needs to cut that off a little bit shorter, get to about 8 yards, 10 yards right there, and speed cut it, and then we were on the same page. So those things are probably going to occur at times. It's just we have got to limit when they happen, and that's what was so critical about Sunday, was when our mistakes happened, they happened at really poor times.
Raheem Jarrett earned himself some more opportunities with the way he came in the second half.
Yeah.
And really seemed to be an asset downfield.
Yeah, I mean, Rock's been working his tail off to get himself into shape and get himself back feeling better, and it was great to see him out there and to produce and make some plays and be in the right spot at the right time. And we've got to continue to get that from him. Like we've got to continue to get the most out of all these guys, because we're going to be able to rely on them and have to rely on them for the rest of the season.
And speaking of that, like Rock, Jalen McMillan, Young, playing in this hostile environment, it's going to be crazy, so loud. You guys have done a pretty good job in Detroit, and with the guys, the line have been doing a good job. But what about for those guys? So you better tell them to be aware.
And we've got to have a plan, but to not overwhelm. We cannot overwhelm, especially in critical moments, third downs, maybe not having as much on their plate from a mindset. We've got to do what we have to do in order to go win the game, but we've got to try to limit maybe some of the short-circuiting if we can as a staff, because you just know it's going to happen at some point. But I think that the way they came out today with the mindset and mentality, go get better, have a better day's practice than we did yesterday, be a little bit more intentional about what we're doing, I think that'll help out.
Speaking of the offensive line, they've been humming the last couple of weeks. What's clicked for them that they know the responsibilities and go out there and they're executing?
I think that there's maybe some, the cohesiveness and chemistry, obviously playing with the similar group for the last few weeks. Getting Luke back into the fold has obviously been helpful for us from a moving people standpoint. I just think that they're probably getting some chemistry, cohesiveness. They're always going to be a little banged up at this point in the year, but, I've got to trust them and continue to run the football in moments where maybe I need to relieve these wideouts, relieve this, Baker in moments to not put it on him.
One more thing on Jarrett. he played slot in Maryland, and he's an X for you here. What makes him an ideal X?
He's more of a probably a ZX type body. I mean, these guys kind of interchange in terms of like formationally moving them to different places, right? They're all kind of able to move outside, inside, left, right, Z, X, F. But I could see, Rock could definitely be body type wise a Z and a little bit of an X for us. Down the line, I could see him being able to go inside some if he needed to. So it's more just like getting him and just like playing him at one position because he hasn't played, right? Like we cannot give him an information overload. He's done a phenomenal job of being on the screws and listening, paying attention. We just got to keep him in one position just for time on task. Yeah.
When receivers miss their landmarks, whether it's in practice, whether it's in games, do you see more of Baker coming over there and talking to them about that?
Yeah.
Or maybe as you would with Mike or Chris,
For sure.
we're pretty much always on the mark.
That's right. I mean, they could probably I didn't have to tell Mike or Chris usually when something like that would occur. They would know it, look at Bake, they'd do that, and it was over. You can move on pretty quick. Yeah, I do think Bake's done a really nice job during the walkthrough settings, practice, whatever it is, like really trying to be as diligent and detailed as he can without overloading their minds of where to be, where he needs them, and what he's looking for on a particular play.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.